You know things are getting incredibly dangerous when specific warnings start flying across borders like this. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has just issued a really stark warning to Gulf nations, and it is escalating tensions rapidly. He actually contacted the foreign ministers of Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, and Iraq with a very clear message. He urged them not to allow the United States or Israel to use their territory to launch attacks against Iran. And here is the scary part. He warned that any country facilitating these operations could be considered a legitimate military target. It is not just about Iran anymore. He is framing this as a war against the entire region and calling on Muslim nations to act responsibly. Now, in an interview with NBC News, Araghchi tried to clarify their strategy. He insisted that Iran is strictly targeting American military installations in the region, not American civilians. He emphasized that they are attacking bases and facilities solely as an act of self-defense. He is accusing Washington and Israel of starting this aggression, calling it a war of choice by the United States. Interestingly, while he admitted there is no direct communication right now, he signaled that the door to diplomacy is open. He said if the U.S. and Israeli strikes stop, Iran would stop its self-defense measures too. But amidst all this geopolitical talk, there is a heartbreaking human cost. Araghchi strongly condemned what he described as the bombing of a girls' primary school in Minab, in southern Iran. He reported that dozens of innocent children were killed in that attack. It is just a devastating reminder of who really suffers when these conflicts widen. It is absolutely heart-wrenching to hear reports that a school was struck in broad daylight. We are talking about Iranian outlets reporting more than 50 fatalities, although the Israeli military says it is still reviewing the report. Independent confirmation has not come through yet, but the sheer thought of it is terrifying. This crisis is threatening to pull in so many regional players, and calls for de-escalation are getting louder by the minute. You have to remember what happened last January. Thousands, if not tens of thousands, of people were out on the Iranian streets. So, it is not strange that some Iranians might actually be relieved to see regime forces being targeted. But as we know, no war is clean. Inevitable civilian casualties can completely flip the script and change the general mood as the war drags on. And let us be real, regime change cannot just be done from the air. Experts are looking at a couple of scenarios here. One is similar to the Venezuelan case. It is possible the United States has contacted elements within the regime who are ready to make a deal, but likely not while Supreme Leader Khamenei is still in the picture. This would mean taking out a specific leader to let more pragmatic elements take over. Think about people like Mir Hossein Mousavi, the ex-prime minister who led the Green Movement back in 2009, or even Hassan Rouhani, who signed the nuclear deal and still has a lot of influence within the IRGC. The big question is, under what circumstances can these figures come to the front and actually talk to the U.S.? We just do not know yet. Another possibility is that the U.S. and Israel simply want to degrade the Iranian leadership capabilities without a full clear-cut plan for what comes next. You have to wonder, is the plan simply to weaken the military and security forces just enough so the people can take over? It sounds chaotic, but that is exactly what we are looking at. During the protests last January, we actually saw people trying to storm police stations and IRGC paramilitary bases. If the regime gets weak enough, we could be looking at a replay of the 1979 revolution, where citizens raided military bases for weapons. But there is a massive problem here. There is no single opposition group with nationwide loyalty. You have the son of the late Shah, the Mujahideen organization, and the Kurdish groups, but none of them command the whole country. They only have pockets of strength. And this brings us to a cold reality about the geopolitical strategy. The US and Israel might have very different end game. For Israel, a friendly regime would be nice, but honestly, they might settle for a civil war or a de facto partition. As long as Iran can no longer pose a threat, the US might want a cleaner outcome, but Israel might just welcome the chaos if it means safety. Meanwhile, the human toll is becoming unbearable. Iranian state media is reporting that at least 51 people were killed after a strike hit a girls' elementary school in Minab, in the Hormozgan province. Another 45 were wounded. Separately, at least 2 students were killed in another attack on a school east of Tehran. These strikes have sparked absolute outrage inside Iran, and it is heartbreaking to see civilians, especially children, paying the price for this escalation. You have to see how fast this is moving. Officials are already condemning what they describe as attacks on civilian infrastructure, and it is getting ugly. At the same time, Israel's military just issued a statement claiming they have struck hundreds of Iranian military targets, including missile launchers all across western Iran. The IDF says says their air force is actively intercepting retaliatory attacks right now, which is a clear signal that a broader confrontation is already underway. And Iran did not wait. They responded within hours. Explosions have been heard across northern Israel as air defense systems work overtime to intercept incoming missiles. While there are no immediate reports of casualties, this barrage marks a dramatic expansion of the conflict. It gets even more serious. Iran's Fars news agency is claiming Tehran launched strikes on U.S. military installations across the Gulf. They specifically named the Al Udeid base in Qatar and the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain as target. Blasts are being reported in several Gulf states hosting American forces, including Qatar, Kuwait, the UAE, and Bahrain. In response, Israel has moved swiftly into an emergency footing. Public gatherings are banned, schools and workplaces are shut, and in a chilling detail, hospital patients have been transferred underground. Defense Minister Israel Katz has declared a nationwide state of emergency. Meanwhile, the Iranian army announced it has launched dozens of attack drones toward Israel in their first extensive drone offensive operation. Even if they get intercepted, the message is unmistakable. The confrontation is escalating, and the whole region is bracing for what comes next. You have to realize that the conflict is no longer just between two nations because it has officially spilled over into the Gulf. Following those preemptive bombings by Israel, Iran has launched a fierce counter-assault, and they are specifically targeting Gulf states that host U.S. military bases. It is a calculated and dangerous move. According to the Fars news agency, Iran has confirmed they targeted the Al Udeid air base in Qatar, the Ali Al Salem air base in Kuwait, the Al Dhafra air base in the UAE, and another base in Bahrain. Just imagine the scene in Abu Dhabi and Doha right now. Reports from IEFP confirm blasts were heard there just hours after the initial attack. In Abu Dhabi, witnesses, including 2 Reuters correspondents, heard 5 distinct booms in rapid succession. It was intense enough to make windows vibrate in a house near the Corniche. While the Emirati Defense Ministry says they successfully intercepted a number of these missiles, the night ended in tragedy. Shrapnel fell on a residential area, causing material damage and killing 1 person of Asian nationality. It just shows that even successful interceptions have a deadly cost. The reaction has been an immediate lockdown. The UAE closed its airspace, and Qatar Airways has suspended all flights because Qatari airspace is shut down too. Even Syria has partially closed its skies. The shockwaves are being felt everywhere. 2 IEFP correspondents in Riyadh reported hearing loud bang, and the Jordanian military confirmed they shot down 2 ballistic missiles right above their country. It is a chaotic situation, and honestly, with airspace closing and interceptors firing, the entire region is on the edge.